Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, America's competition shotgun, and is fueled by Fiocchi.
Welcome to the Dead Pair Podcast, coming in hot with everything you want to hear about sporting clays. With your hosts, Jason Rambo.
This is what I have to work with, everyone.
And Sean Alley.
Like I said, I was just thirsty.
Often imitated, but never duplicated. It's the Dead Pair Podcast. It's showtime.
What's up, Jay?
What's up, everyone? What's up, Mr. Large and in charge?
Well, it's cold up here, as your Facebook page post today kind of rubbed it in a little bit. So,
You like that, do you?
Yeah, screw you, buddy. Screw you.
Yeah, right? I hear you.
Yeah, they Cardinal actually canceled their tournament this weekend because it's going to be so nasty.
Really?
Yeah, so enjoy it down there. Enjoy those palm trees and blue skies because we don't have them up here.
Yeah. Well, it looks like we got a few in here. We got Radulovich says, you better not be late. I hear you. People have been waiting on me for years to release the next episode. You don't want to be like me. Chadwick's here. Ron Richards is here. Tony's here.
Looks like Brown's outdoors at Amber. Hi, Amber.
Yeah. Thanks, Tony. Appreciate the congrats. This is going to be fun tonight, guys. One thing, first of all, the theme is fun. And two short tidbits on your questions. Number one, PG-13, please. There are kids that watch this. And number two, if I have to have a lawyer present, I'll just refrain from answering. So,
Ooh, wow.
Other than that, nothing's off limits. So, and forgive the glasses. I don't have my contacts in, so I'm playing old man to read some of this stuff. So. But,
zoom that screen in, buddy. Zoom that screen in.
That's right. We do not have attorney talk right now. Casey hasn't sent us any updates. I know a couple of people are giving us some information about shoots, which we're happy to announce as long as it's on Score Chaser. So if you guys have a big shoot at your local club and it's up on Score Chaser and you want us to announce it, we can do that. We can include it with the attorney talk. So, Sean, how much snow are you digging out of?
It's not really that bad. We got a couple of inches, but honestly, past weekend, Saturday it started raining, and it just rained and rained and rained Saturday, most of the morning of Sunday, which turned into freezing rain. Then it turned into ice. Then it turned into snow. So where Monday morning I got up to get out there, and the truck looked like a glazed donut, and it took me a little while just to hack into the truck. So,
oh wow,
yeah. I know you remember how it is up here still. You ain't been gone down there that long.
Listen, I miss you guys up there, but I'm sorry I don't miss the weather. No, not at all. Not at all. But hey, Sean, let's announce this contest from Ranger. We're going to give away another set of those super shots. But instead of doing the contest, the bucket of shells and getting absolutely slammed by spam and scammers, we're going to do something a little different. We're asking the questions on here. I'll probably post another short video for anybody that can't join us. But this will be out on a podcast for the audio this week on Thursday. So, all right. So here's the contest. It's 3-part question, and you got to send us an email. It's easy enough to find us and send us an email. Go to our website, hit the contact button. Or if you want, I can post it here. It's jrambo@thedeadpair.com. 3-part question. Number one, using AI technology, how many different lens combinations did Ranger test to develop their React AI lenses? All right. Question number 2, using their website, find and tell us where they were first located, where they originated from. And then the third one, no right or wrong answer on this. If you could change anything about any of Ranger's lenses, what would it be? Like, what would you like to see them come out with? Some new idea that you have. Send us those 3 answers to an email. We're going to take all the people that answered the first 2 questions correctly, put their name in a hat, do a drawing, and we'll have Ranger drop ship you a new set of the super shots. So,
yeah, those are some sweet cool glasses too, man. Those are great.
Yeah, and thank you to Ranger for doing that. We really appreciate it. So,
Got a few more people coming on. Looks like Trevor Shanahan, Tyler Archambault,
Yeah.
Kristen Fink. Hey, Kristen. Yep.
Man,
So
I
look
haven't
like
seen
it's
Kristen and JD forever.
I was harassing him earlier. I said, I better see your butt on there. He's old, so he goes to bed early these days.
He's getting old, so
Mm-hmm.
he'd be like David Radulovich. He'll be 29 and going on 87 here before long. So,
Some of us have to wear that cape,
oh man, I'm waiting on Neil's questions. He texted me one the other day, but we can't read it here, so I'm waiting on him to come up with some good stuff. So, hey, Sat Marketing, is it? Hey,
That's
Sat,
Haley Satterwhite, I think.
that's Haley. Hey, what's up, girl? Did you see that cool post she made on social media? Oh, dude, she did a cool one for us. I appreciate that. So,
Really? Okay. I'll have to go. Is it on Facebook or
it's on Instagram. Yeah.
Instagram? Okay.
Yeah, very cool. So, but yes, I'm trying to think what else here.
Oh, should we mention that the finally, at long last, the Kolar drawing for kids and clays is up and running, so you guys can go buy your tickets. That is what's the word I'm going to use? Magnificent firearm, Jason. I mean, MSRP of over $31,000. It's got gold engraving on it. It's beautiful, beautiful gun.
Yep.
Thank you to the people at Kolar for putting that up for us.
Another thing too, we're going to clean up the description on that gun. The winner of the gun gets their choice of barrel, whether it's high rib, mid rib, or flat rib. Kolar's going to fit you to the gun. It's going to be grade 3 wood. You get a custom fit new greenie case for it. You're going to get all the titanium chokes that come with it and the tools and all that stuff. So it's not just here's a gun, see you later. So, get your tickets, guys and gals.
And most importantly, you become a member of the Kolar family, which is
and a portion of this proceeds go to Kids and Clays, which is huge. So
that's right. So it's a win-win for everybody. David DeBrule just jumped on. Hey, what's up, David?
What's up, David? Look for something with David DeBrule here in the near future. I pinned him down for a little quick interview while we were at Quail. So look for that here soon. Neil Chadwick texted me a question. He said, have you or Sean ever... no, I'm not. No. Neil, PG-13.
We really can't share. It's that bad. We can't share it on.
Yeah, I can't go any farther. No. That's 2 questions he's asked I can't say on here. So
Neil, PG-13, please. PG-13.
Oh my gosh. I
Not
love
triple XR rated. We can't have that.
Yes. Neil's a good dude. Who else is on there? Thanks, David, for the congrats. Thanks. What's up, Garrett? Sonic Rose, episode 200. Man, the time flies. Yeah, no kidding. It seemed like I just did the first one with Sean. What was it? It's been over 5 years ago, but it seems like yesterday.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that long. It's hard to believe time's flown like it has.
Sean, you got your Taconic distillery with you tonight?
Yeah, and I was just getting ready to say some other news. Our friend Paul Coughlin at Taconic Distillery has graciously just came up with a discount for all of our listeners. If you use the code DEADPAIR10 at checkout, you get a 10% off all the purchases from the Taconic Distillery website. What are you drinking tonight, Jay?
I am drinking the maple. I love all of them, but that one's still my favorite. So
I almost went that way because I had that bottle sitting here. I got a bottle of the double barrel maple.
Yep.
Excellent stuff. I went a little bit differently this way. I'm drinking their gin, which is surprisingly really good. I got a martini working here with a couple olives in it. So definitely went off the wagon tonight, if you know what I mean. So I'm doing a little something clear versus brown.
Look at that. Rad Chad's here. Good evening, gentlemen. Congrats on 200.
Lord, now it's a party.
Now it's a party. We got Rad Chad here. Spent most of the last week and a half with Chad. Stayed in the house with him and Lenny and Michael. And, of course, Todd was there for a little while. And then we had the Pakistani Flash showed up. That was fun. Those guys are fun to travel with. Fun to be around. So, but, yeah, so the discount code again, Sean, for Taconic?
It is DEADPAIR10, and it's DEADPAIR, and then the number 10.
And that's all
which
one
gives you
word. There's no spaces or anything.
all one word gets you 10% off all their purchases on their website. Another thing too, if you guys aren't really a heavy drinker, they make a bourbon cream that I tell you is just absolutely fantastic with your coffee.
Oh, yeah.
So if you don't have anything to do early in the morning, just a little shot in there, and it's actually really good stuff.
Do you see David down here? What do you see what he said? David DeBro.
Yeah, I know. I mean, look, it's a full-time job babysitting Jason. And unfortunately, I had other matters I was attending to up here with my wife. So I can only imagine what kind of chaos he was stirring up down there without me.
Well, listen, I don't want to hear it, okay? A lot of that was pre-wedding stuff, or pre-finding Jules stuff. So I don't want to hear it. No.
It's your story. You told it any way you want, bub.
Hey, no. I'm a good boy now. So
we need a shot collar. I've been saying that for years, Dave.
shot collar.
I've been saying that. You just no.
The thing is I would be sitting there like a choir boy, and you'd be over there going. Zzz, 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 zzz.
Well, yeah, but then it'd also be helpful for those times. I'm like, no, down.
Yeah, I hear you. So I can't believe, looking at some of the people in this room, nobody has a question for us yet.
Yeah, you guys are supposed to be asking us a question if you haven't already figured that out. So in the comments section here, if you've got a question, doesn't matter what it's related to. You got a question about the game, you got a question about me or Jason, you got a question about whatever, somebody we've had on, or
it doesn't have to be shooting related even. So,
but we're here, and we just thought we would kind of come on and have some fun and see what kind of stuff we could stir up with everybody.
Yes, absolutely. Here's one from Brown's Outdoors. How did you guys come up with the idea for this podcast? I guess I'll answer that since I approached Sean about it. Yeah, right. That had something to do with it. A lot of you remember Behind the Break. That podcast was ending, and I wanted to continue something because I really loved that podcast. I thought it was awesome, and they did a really good job. And I thought it was, the shooters got a lot of information out, but I didn't want to just replicate that. So Sean and I sat down and talked, and it's like, look, we spent a lot of money in the wrong direction starting this sport. And anybody that's listening to this knows what I'm talking about. You can very easily do that. And it's like, if we're going to do this, we need to do it to try and help people and then also try and grow the sport. And that's been our mission statement from day one. And we bought some equipment, had no idea what we were doing, still don't after 5 years and 200 episodes. But we went with it, and then when it came out, it was like, I'm calling Sean like every day. Do you see the downloads today? Do you see the downloads today? And he's like, you got to be kidding me. That many people like us two idiots, So,
No. I think the biggest thing, I think what really did it for me at least, is back in the day, we had introduced bear pelt before anybody really knew what bear pelt was all about. And Heather and Eric had reached out to us and said, we're getting orders from Germany and Russia, Australia. And we're like, what? So that was really cool to learn that there were people, not just, locally or in the United States, but all over the world that were listening to us two idiots. And that was pretty humbling, don't you think, Jay?
Oh, it's still humbling. I mean, I saw so many people this weekend. Sean, we got an interview coming up here soon that I did with the Jamaican shooting team. And, the first time we met Winston, we actually shot with him at the Jack Links Cup. And
that's right.
He saw that Dead Pair Podcast was written on the back of a flat of shells that we had shipped down there. And he's like, are you guys? And he's like, we were just listening to you. I'm like, what?
I know,
like,
from Jamaica.
We all the time, and it's just humbling.
Crazy.
It really is. So, we got a lot of questions starting to pop up here, Sean. So
yeah, now you can get after them.
When you coming to Texas? Well, I was there the week before the Nationals and shot at Abilene. Great club, by the way. If anybody's down in the Texas area and hasn't been to Abilene Clay Sports, they need to go check that out. In
I
fact,
was just
Steve
down there.
Ellinger, who does the history of sporting clays now, that's his home club. That's where he's based out of. But they do a great job. So
Yeah, we were both just down there for nationals, but I don't know. We're going to be down there again, but I don't think we're coming anytime sooner than nationals, are we?
No, not with the travel schedule I have this year. Haley said, "What's your favorite episode of all 200?"
Ooh,
I'll let you
wow.
take the floor on that one, Sean.
Oh no, you go first, please, because
all of them.
Yeah, well, I'd say one particular. I mean, there's a ton of them that I love, but I'll tell you what. One that sticks out in my mind. We had a little bit of a rowdy night with Jake Spangler, his brother Luke, and Nick, and we were talking. What was that? What was that conversation really about? It went off the rails.
That conversation went in so many different directions.
It was a 3.5 hour recording that we could only use about 30 minutes of. It was about that. Yeah, it was a crazy one. That was a funny one for me, anyways. I have a lot of memories of that one. We've done so many good ones. I mean, we really have. It's hard to pick just a favorite.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. I mean, that was a lot of fun that night. I know the night that David didn't leave there till 4 a.m, that was pretty fun. Even though,
yeah,
I don't know how we're not in jail. But
me neither.
There's been a lot of memorable ones, and to be honest with you, I've got some really good lifelong memories from the sport, but this podcast has created so many that I'll never forget, and it's hard to pick just one. Good question, but unfortunately, I don't have a good solid answer for you. David said, "What do you guys think about win points to be able to punch out a class? Please, Lord of the sporting clay gods, please let this happen. I really would love to see that." That idea was actually presented to me previously, and I don't know if he's going to kill me or not for saying his name, but Rabbit Crow with White Flyer actually came up to me at a shoot 2 years ago, and we were talking about this and how to fix the masterclass debacle. And he had that idea, and I think it's a wonderful idea. Not only, just so everybody knows what this is, not only do you have to have your punches, but you also have to have win points. So let's say you got to have 20 punches to go from double A to master. You also have to have 5 win points. For example, I punched out again out of double A into master's class this past weekend. I didn't win a daggone thing, but I'd earned enough punches that here I go again. So I think that's a great idea. It's going to keep people in the class a little bit longer, and it's going to take the winners and put them where they should be. So I think that's an excellent idea, and I hope it happens. All right. Clays and Wings said, "What did you both shoot prior to Kolar's? Why did you switch? And was there a noticeable improvement in your game right away?" Sean, you want to take this first?
Yeah. Well, I've shot all kinds of guns over my hunting and then competitive shooting career, or sporting clays career, if you want to call it that. When we got back into the game, let's see, back in the mid '90s when we were shooting with your dad, I was shooting a Beretta A302. Still have that gun. Actually, my son has that gun. So I had a Beretta Auto. And then when I took a hiatus, had a family, kids, and all that stuff, got back into the game in 2016. I was shooting a 687 Silver Pigeon, and within a year, I upgraded to a DT11, and that's what I had prior to my Kolar.
So for me, I started life in sporting clays in the mid '90s with a 1187 sporting clays model. Still have that gun. Still love that gun. And then I went to a Browning. It's actually a 525 Satori, but it was called a Ultra Gold Sporting, and it said Ultra Gold on one side and it said Sporting Gold on the other side. It was kind of goofy, but anyway. And I ran that gun up until 2015 or 16. Right about the time Sean bought his DT11, I bought my first Kolar, and it was a high rib. It was the old 750 bore, heavy, 9.3 pounds, and oh boy, what a learning curve. But then I went to the Max Light Sporting, and my game started improving, which is the one I have now is a ramp taper rib. In fact, the barrels I have now are from that first Max Light Sporting that I had. I kept the barrels because they were already ported and all that stuff. So, but noticeable improvement right away? No, but in time, yes. I think the main reason we went to the Kolars was their lifetime gun. and we don't have to go shopping every 2-3 years or something. And another big push for that reason is after I bought my first Kohler, the way that the Mainland family treated me like I had just bought $120,000 side plate gun. I mean, they to this day and from day one, they've always treated me like family, and that level of customer service I think is missing today, and that was very important to me. They've been so good to me. Even when I was a jackass and I broke the stock and I sent the forearm back, they sent it back within a few days. Couldn't even tell it was broke. Didn't charge me a dime. And
I remember how you were freaking out about that, dude. That was
I was almost crying. I mean, it just broke my
Uh-huh.
heart. And he's like, Jason, I can fix it. I'm like, there's no way you're going to fix it. He's like, Jason, I can fix it. He fixed it. He did it quick. And he didn't, I don't know if he wants me telling this or not, but he didn't charge me a dime. And that was well before any sponsorship. I mean, that was like 4 years ago. I mean,
right.
He took
Yeah, and as far as noticeable improvement right away in your game, I mean, I don't care. Again, I love my Kohler. I wouldn't go back to anything else at this point. But I will be honest and say, look, if you upgrade to a new gun, I don't care what it is, especially if you shot a different kind of gun prior to that for a couple of years and you got used to it, it's going to be a learning curve. It's going to be a journey to kind of figure out how that gun shoots, where you have to hold it, how you have to. I mean, there's just so much. You have to relearn a new piece of equipment, and it's not like that. You know, you just pick up a new gun and all of a sudden you're going to pick up 5 or 10 birds. It doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
But what I can say is that, if you get a great gun, and there's a lot of them out there, don't get me wrong, there's a lot of good quality guns out there. It takes time, takes thousands of targets to get your mental sight picture built with that particular gun. Because I'll tell you, even going back before I sold my DT11, I went out and shot it one last time. It was so different, because my mind was already adjusted to the Kohler, and I shot that DT11 really well. It took me from B class all the way to master.
David's on here. He can attest to this. Wendell Cherry shot the same Perazzi forever, and he got a new one, and, it took him a little while to get going again with it. I mean,
just a slight change. I mean, when your brain's used to shooting something for so long, and then when you change it, it takes a while to get, back in the saddle and learn the gun. So, again, I just want to say that it's not an instantaneous fix, or it's anybody that believes that they can go buy a $10,000 gun and all of a sudden pick up 10 or 20 targets. It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Bilal said, congratulations. Thanks, buddy. That's the Pakistani Flash.
Pakistani Flash. Hi, Bilal.
By the way, I got to give Bilal credit. He built my new website for my Clay Range Design Works. Did a fabulous job. Thank you, Bilal, for your help. I really sincerely appreciate that. Got another one here from Sonic Rose. Okay, here's one. Just moved down to Northeast Florida from NorCal recently. What club down here should I try to shoot a tournament at first? There seems to be a lot of options. You know what? I completely agree with you. There is a lot of options down here in Florida, and I don't really think you can go wrong picking any of them.
Yeah. And you have to also ask, are you north-south or are you east-west? I mean, because that makes a lot of difference. Florida's a big state.
Yeah. Northeast Florida. Trying to think what's up there. I know that John Woolley's club's up there, but I don't think they do any registered tournaments. I think there's all charity tournaments and corporate events, but there's a lot of clubs in that area. And hopefully if we get somebody, Malcolm Parker would be a good one to ask if he shows up tonight. He could be a good one to recommend a club, but man, try all of them, see which one you like. Now I'm going to Bradford this weekend for the Florida Challenge. That's up just north of Ocala. That's a really good club and really, really good targets. Probably the most challenging targets you're going to shoot in Florida. Pat Welch does a fantastic job with targets there. So if you can make that one, the Florida Challenge this coming weekend, I would definitely recommend it.
Yep.
I don't know if this is Kristen or JD, but it said, Jason, I see you're shooting a lot better. What has been the major factor in improving? Two things. I've thought a lot about this lately, and the two things are, number one, I spent a lot of time out of the gun. I didn't touch the gun all summer long, went to Ohio State shot a little bit better. Then I didn't touch the gun again until Nationals. It was the best performance I've ever had at Nationals. And then on down the road, I didn't compete again until the Caribbean. So that's from October clear around to February. And the second part of it was I noticed at nationals, for whatever reason, I was coming from behind the target, like not trying to. I just caught myself doing it, and I started looking into a little bit of the way that Brandon shoots and the way that Chad's shooting now, and using the eyes a lot more and letting the eyes control the hands. And it's hard to see. I mean, look, we could wrap up 5 episodes on this, but that's been the major difference. It's just really kind of controlling the eyes and letting the eyes control the hands. Where do I focus hard at? And the gun's there when it's supposed to be. Amber Brown is on here right now. I would love to hear her comment on this. I shot super sporting with her, and some of the hardest targets on the entire property at Quail were that super sporting. And there was 3 stations that I ran that everybody else struggled. And honestly, I could not tell you where the gun was when it went off, and I dirtballed the targets. So now, don't get me wrong, I still put up a pathetic score because
shooting more subconsciously than consciously, Jason.
I'm still conscious on what I'm doing, but I'm letting the hands be controlled by the eyes. It's
trusting yourself.
It's a different Chad. I hope Chad can come on here soon and explain it or talk to us a little bit more about it. But you're almost shooting on feel. I mean, it's hard to explain. I'm probably going to get drugged through the mud by every coach that knows what they're talking about in the whole world. So maybe I'm just being an idiot and getting lucky. So, but wait a minute, what's this? I'm calling BS, Rambo. I don't know what you're BSing, Haley, but you're probably right. So,
it's like Bear Pelt joined us. Not sure if that's Eric or Heather or who that is.
Hold on a second here. No, you're skipping ahead of us. Bilal said, who was the most fun one to interview? That is also a tough one. We've had so many wonderful guests. I mean,
oh yeah, who was?
Eric Trump pops out real quick.
Will Primos was funny.
Oh,
he was a good dude.
That guy was a riot.
Yeah, he was.
There was a lot of it we had to edit, but that was a fun one.
Yep.
And then
we had a lot of good interviews.
Oh boy, look at this, Sean. Between Ben and Brandon, the most
fun between Ben and Brandon.
Oh boy,
man.
I'm
partial to that dry British humor, so I'm going to lean towards Ben.
Yeah. And see, the cool thing about both those guys, whether you guys like or love or hate them, if you ask them a question, they're going to tell you exactly what's on their mind. So there might be some vulgarity with it, but you're going to hear exactly what's on their mind. So I do have that respect for both of them for sure. Let's jump to this bear pelt question. What did you think the competitive spirit was at the event? Did it feel like a first major or a preseason game? I was able to get on the course Sunday, and it was awesome. I thought to be honest with you, I thought the competitive spirit was flaming. I mean, everybody was out for blood. Obviously, still a great time, great camaraderie. And you know what? That's a good question. Did it feel like a first major or a preseason game? It felt like a first major to me. Maybe if Radulovich or anybody, any of these top level pros are on here, we could ask them what they thought. But I thought it was a first major for me. Amber Brown, I know you're on here. Tell us what you thought. So, great question, by the way. Sonic Rose, 118752. Okay, Neil said, what's your favorite shooting discipline and why? Sean, you go first.
I would say favorite right now is sporting, but I will say that I do extremely well at FETASC because of the one target at a time versus the pair after pair after pair. Don't know if it's the OCD, ADHD, or whatever that kicks in, but I don't shoot FETASC all that much, but when I do, it seemed like I do pretty well with it. So I think flip a coin, I'll shoot sporting first, but I don't mind FETASC at all.
Okay. For me, I'm going to say super sporting. Task, I absolutely love. I still love it, but because I've lost some weight and my gun doesn't really fit me the way it should, when I mount, I'm having to do a little bit of a wiggle to get it to where it should be, and I think that's causing some deficit in scores for sure. But I love super sporting, man. I don't know what it is. I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm going to go with super sporting. So this one, Darren says, have you ever had your gun fitted by someone? Yes, all of them, clear back to the Browning.
Yep.
Eister did my Browning and my first Kolar, and then I've had Chad Roberts help me with the last two guns that I've got now. Again, I've lost some weight and the fit's off a little bit. I need to have the pitch changed a little bit more. And then I was talking with Kevin McNamara from Kolar this weekend, and he was kind of noticing some things on my grip. And he's really wanting to change a lot. And I'll be honest with you, I'm terrified because the way my weight has yo-yoed in the last 16 months, I'm kind of afraid of it because I don't want to do a custom fit gun and then something happen again. I go up or down and it doesn't fit again. So
That's a great question, Darren. And honestly, I would tell anybody that's listening to this, before you start thinking about chokes, ammo, accessories, whatever, if you only have a limited amount of money, the first and best thing you can do is get your gun fitted so that it shoots where you are looking. Because if you don't do
absolutely,
that first and foremost, everything else is a waste of time.
absolutely agree. 100%. That should, I mean, if you go to any good coach, that's going to be the first thing they check is your gun fit.
Yep.
Seriously. I mean, I've seen Chad do it in lessons, whether it's a kids clinic or just giving a one-on-one lesson. The first thing he does is check gun fit, and David's the same way. So, Brian says, question for Jason. First off, congratulations on the 200. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Your dedication to support lives coverage is unmatched. I have a serious technical question for you. Uh-oh. Given the natural oscillation frequency of free-floating camera mount
This reeks of Radulovich, okay? This reeks of Radulovich.
This is not Radulovich. Okay, let me back up. This may actually be Brian, but he got a text message from David Radulovich that said to ask this question.
This reeks of Radulovich, as I said.
Yeah, see the thing about trigger sticks? It's funny, though, because David makes fun of my trigger sticks, and the first thing his girlfriend said when she saw those is, we need some of those. So I'm going to get a hold of Will Primos. I'm going to get a signature dead pair set of trigger sticks sent to David Radulovich. I cannot wait to see the look on his face.
Do you apply an active damping solution, or is the inherent instability just part of the artistic vision? That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I have no freaking idea what it means, but that's gorgeous. Whatever that.
David Radulovich. Thanks so much. Goes back to it's not the arrow, it's the Indian. If I could ever afford to, I would love to get a Kolar hopefully soon after I retire. You know what? Listen, Sean and I obviously are partial to Kolar. We love our Kolars. I don't think you can go wrong with any of the big three or big. You can actually make it a big four. But so Kolar, Krieghoff, Perazzi, any of these guns. I know they're expensive, but any of these guns, as long as you take care of them with regular maintenance and having them service once a year, your grandchildren's grandchildren will not outshoot them. Yeah. I mean, Kolar has got a guy in Texas that's got 2 million rounds on his gun, and he keeps shooting with it every day.
But you don't need a big money gun to perform well.
Right.
Look at all the people shooting like Joe Finizzi. Look, he won a national championship and the Quail Creek Jack Links tournament with an A400, which anybody can go buy for $1,500 to $2,000.
In all fairness, Joe's a Cole Pro, and he's got a custom.
I know, but I'm just saying it can be done. Yeah. It can be done.
I can buy 4, 5, 6 of those guns for what mine costs. So, but I get
it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
The biggest thing is making sure the gun fits, and then when you're ready to step up to your lifetime gun, I really don't think you can go wrong. The cool thing about it is that you only got to do it one time, right? I mean, it's not like ammo. You buy a flat of ammo, and as soon as you burn that out, oh, geez, I need some more. The gun is really not your most expensive expense. It's here we go. So, moving to Florida is, man, the targets here are way different than they were in Cali. Like, wow, I don't have to look straight up to hit 75% of the birds. It depends on where you go. I mean, you know, where you're going to get your presentations. Vero, as nice of a club as it is, I mean, it's a small club. You're going to get a lot of quartering and trap shots and trap kill shots just because the terrain lends itself to it. You go to Quail, you're going to shoot some big stuff. South Florida is a beautiful club. They've got some big targets there. They've got the room to really spread it out. Somebody that's highly underrated, if you get a chance, is Blackjack Sporting Clays. Bruce Potter. There's 4 sporting courses: a FETAS course, a super sporting course, trap and skeet. I mean, that place is awesome. There's a lot of good targets there too. So, as far as the difference between Cali and Florida, that's a good one for Chad. Floyd Kelly, Gianna, best interview ever. That is the reddest I've ever seen Sean Alley's face. I swear on my grave.
I should have listed Gianna's podcast as my favorite because that was definitely one that I'll never forget.
Bala says, why don't you tell how hard it is to be a podcaster, how much effort goes into it? I don't think people would believe us.
No.
I don't think they would believe us. And unfortunately, my wife's in the other room right now. She probably, as far as the technical stuff, she works harder than the rest of us. I mean, there's on average 12 to 14 hours an episode, and I could show people what I mean by what she's doing, but yeah, she works really, really hard. And then Sean and I spend the rest of our time herding the cats, as he puts it, but it's a lot of work. And, that's another thing too, is you don't want boring or stale content, and you're always searching for that next guest that's going to give something to the listeners that the last one didn't or the one before didn't. So it's a challenge. It's hard. It's not that easy. So
yeah, just realize, guys, that when you guys listen to an average podcast that lasts about 45 minutes, give or take, in studio, Jason and I probably have close to 3 or 4 hours to put that all together, and then his wife spends however much time to mix it down. And then before recording the podcast, we're sending emails, making phone calls, getting background, doing research on the people, the stories, the products, or whatever we're doing. And sometimes literally, it's taken us as much as a year to put a podcast together or more. Right, Jay? Yeah. I mean, we've had some that have taken a year or two, maybe even, to finally get them in studio.
I always write the show prep. We don't do anything scripted, but we do write down questions because you can go down a rabbit hole or go off track real quick with a guest. So we write the questions down that we put ourselves from a shooter's and a listener's standpoint, what we want to hear from this guest that could possibly help us or what would be interesting. So I do write questions down. Of course, we've got the tourney talk. We got everything that you hear us go through on the front and the backside. It's all written down as a note to, hey, make sure you bring this up because it's important stuff. So David said AFS. I love AFS, but it's gone away a lot. I mean, I know they still do it at nationals and it fills up quick, but it does. It seems to go away quick.
There's Corey, and that's Kevin's wife. Hey, Cor. What's up, dear?
Oh, Corrine said, hey, Corrine. What's up, girl? From Chicago. Or are they down here now?
No, they're in Chicago.
They're still Chicago still?
As far as I know.
Chad said the answer is yes and no, but it isn't. But it is, but it isn't. You have to be able to shoot free. That is the end result you need to strive for. Oh, my God.
With your newfound success, I think that's what he's talking about.
He hit the nail on the head, and as confusing as that sounds, it's that confusing to interpret it, and it's that confusing to explain it. But once you do it, you're like, oh, my God, where's this been? Michael said, where can we see the shoots have make or break in 2025 in the Northeast? What? Wait a minute. Where can we see what shoots have make or break? If you go to Make or Break's Facebook page, and I think it's even on their website too, they have a schedule of every single event that they're going to. So it'd be easy to find it that way. David figured out that I called him out.
Yeah, I said it reeks of Radulovich. He says, I'm dying over here.
Yeah. You guys got me within 2 seconds. David, I can read you like a book, brother. Floyd Kelly, very new to the game, suggested to shoot feet task and take my lumps, but learn how to move without the gun. I'm going to do it and see if it fits. Anything, Sean?
Jason will tell you that I wasn't the biggest fan of FETASC early on. And it can be a little bit intimidating if you've never shot it before. The rules are much stricter. You have a judge there that's been trained and certified to score a FETASC match. So, but if you tell someone, you tell the judge that, hey, this is my first time shooting, or I'm a new shooter, FETASC, they'll let you slide on some things, and most of the other shooters will understand. So don't be afraid to go out there and give it a try. You're still shooting at a clay bird, okay? The only difference is that you're coming from a low gun, and instead of if you're already pre-mounted or something like that. But it's a lot of fun. And I tell you what, I found that I do better, like I was saying earlier, because you're not shooting like in sporting clays where you're shooting pair after pair after pair. You're going around the horn on a peg, and the targets are different. You usually get one shot or two shots, but it's always different. So your brain's always thinking about the next move. And I think you don't tend to get, at least for me, I don't tend to get in a rut or get stale or get complacent, on the second, third, or fourth pair like I do in sporting.
And another thing too, if you're new to FETASC, if you walk up and tell the ref, and you make sure to tell the squad, I'm new to this, they're
Right.
going to help you. They're going to help
absolutely.
you through it. They're not going to let you make mistakes and get penalized and all other stuff. They're going to now look, if on parkour 4, peg 3, you're still making the same mistake you're making on parkour 1, you're probably going to get written up. You're probably going to get penalized. So pay attention to what they're telling you, but they will help you through that. And look, we weren't born shooting FETASC. We all shot it for the first time at some point, right? So don't be scared. You need to try it. It's a great discipline. Remember something about FETASC. In fact, Big-Headed Radulovich told this on a podcast years ago. FETASC is a game that the whole world shoots. Sporting is a game that only 2 countries shoot. So don't be afraid to give it a try. It is a very age-old tradition sport, and it's awesome. It really is. It's a good sport. Let's see here. Radulovich. Roberts said, forgot to the break. Hey, listen, there is absolutely nothing wrong with the Blaser.
Nope.
And I'll tell you this much right now, and I hope Sean Mainland's not listening. Their triggers are some of the best in the business. They got that striker fire trigger. Absolutely love their triggers. And I've shot Chad's gun a bunch, and they're awesome guns. There's nothing wrong with the Blaser. Nothing whatsoever. So
Neil's got shots fired.
to David R., that's about all you can win these days. Oh, man, shots fired.
A big shot.
Big shots fired. Lindog, what's up, Uncle Lenny? FETASC. Okay.
Yeah, he's a big fan of FETASC.
Oh, gee, Merry Christmas. Darren said, gotta love 5-stand also. Yeah, absolutely. I love 5.
Yeah.
I don't like, here's my deal with 5-stand. I'll tell you this much, though. I like shooting 50 birds of 5-stand. I don't like 100, unless they've got 4 separate fields where you're shooting 25, 25, 25, 25. If you got to shoot 50 on this one and 50 on that one, I kind of get burnt on it. That's just me. That's just a personal preference. Now, we did have a couple questions get text to me. Sean, you remember old Justin Ketchum?
Oh, yeah. I texted him today. He said, man, make sure you meet us out here on the
He said he could
podcast tonight.
He must be a couple of Miller Lights deep. He says couldn't figure out how to send us live. When are you going to give the target setters the benefit of the doubt and stop throwing stations out due to mechanical failures that happens all the time? We had it happen a couple of times this past weekend at the Jack Links Cup, and that is something that happens. I get the mechanical failures. They do happen. As far as throwing a station out, I mean, the only time I would say that you should really throw a station out is if something's happened to that machine or at that station where you cannot replicate the exact same target it was for the first day or two of a 4-day event, then you kind of have no choice, right? I mean, it's not the same target that everybody else shot. And so, I don't know. That's a tough one. I mean, that's for somebody that knows way more than me to make that call. But I agree. I mean, it kind of stinks because they threw out a station this past weekend that I did well on. That was kind of tough, and they just gave everybody a 6 on it. That could have been a deciding fact, not in my score, but it could have been a deciding factor for somebody for winning their class. Maybe they did well on it and the rest of the class didn't. So yeah, I get that. I mean, I get that it's a problem, and I don't know. Somebody with way more authority and brain power than me has got to make that decision. So,
Neil's got a good question. Sorry, I'm skipping ahead.
It's okay. Hold on a minute here. We got to go back. See, Trevor Shanahan. I'll take feet task over everything. 5 stand is my least favorite to shoot and set. 5 stand's easy to set, dude. You only got 8 targets, for crying out loud. But yeah, I get what you're saying, Trevor. I agree with you. By the way, I beat you this weekend. I had to throw that out there, didn't I?
Shots fired. Shots fired.
Okay, Sonic Rose. I was so nervous my feed task round. I never checked where my stock was. That made much since I first learned how to hold a gun. Yeah, I mean it's a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, it's a great game. And the one cool thing about feed task, Sean and I can attest this. When we started shooting sporting clays in the 90s, you did not pre-mount your gun. That was a no-no. There was no mounting it and checking and then coming down. You were just like feed task.
Like hunting. I mean, it was truly like a hunting, because you would never pre-mount it if a pheasant jumped out of a thicket. So,
I mean, it was kind of hilarious because you can walk into any gun store and tell who shot sporting clays because they were over there doing this number. I mean, there was no mounting it and looking around. They were over there checking to see how the mount was. So it was. I don't know. I guess maybe that's why feed task kind of comes natural to me because that's how we used to shoot. Neil said, "What are your thoughts on shooting 1 ounce at everything?" Sean, I'll take this first, but for me, that's a tough one because I've got a newfound love for some white rhino lights, which are 1 ounce or 1 1/8 ounce 1200 eights. I'm loving what they're doing to a target, especially at distance. But I understand your point, and in all fairness, I've broke just as good as scores with 1 ounce as I have 1 1/8 ounce. That's a good idea, though, Sean. What do you think about that?
Well, back in the day when we first got started, I listened to a lot of different people, and again, just trying to find my way through the game. I eventually settled on shooting 1 ounce for everything. There's a slight difference with 1 1/8 ounce. One of those, the biggest thing is recoil, felt recoil. So if you shoot a 1200 1 ounce versus a 1200 1 1/8 ounce, the 1 1/8 ounce is going to kick more if it's the same shell. However, big compliment to Rhino, when you throw that porting in your gun, you can shoot the biggest whammy shells you want to, and it really tames them down to the point where I didn't really feel a lot of difference in the 1 ounce loads I was shooting. But once I bumped up to 1 1/8 ounce, they felt like I was shooting 1 ounce again. So to Jason's point, I've come full circle from the little rhinos back to the white rhinos, and I usually use the lights. I go to the 1200s as well. Because they feel about the same, and just having that little extra bit of lead, especially at longer targets and stuff, why not?
Well, right? Here's a fact that nobody can argue. The slower the feet per second, the better a shell patterns, period. I don't care what kind of shell it is.
Agreed.
But credit to Fiocchi because the 1 ounce little rhino, 1 ounce 1250, feels the exact same as a 1 1/8 ounce 1200. It feels the exact same. I don't feel any more felt recoil. Now the 1 1/8 ounce, the standard white rhinos are 1 1/8 ounce 1250s. They got a little snap to them, but they're not hateful. They're not hateful.
No.
If our buddy JD here was on here, he'd tell you he wants 1 1/4 ounce 1450s, but that's just not for me. I'm not a recoil guy. So.
Me neither.
We got to get caught up here to some of these. David DeBrule says, "What do you think of Justin Ketchum's new porn mustache?" Yeah, I'm sending him a Gillette for Christmas. Um,
No comment.
so what is the deal with the new Rhino chokes? No ports, but they claim the same type of pattern. I thought the ports were the magic to strip the wad and create a great pattern. So I got to try some of Brandon Powell's new series, the new Alien series, and I shot them on Make or Break. I put them in my gun. They're 17,000s, just like what I have in the Elite series. And they absolutely hammer targets. So as far as the wad stripping goes and the porting, I don't know. They figured something out because that's all Brandon's using. He just won the Caribbean and the Jackling's Cup, so there must be something to it. Now I know he's a little different bird to try and compare to, but um, there's something there to him, and he worked pretty extensively. Speaking with Scott Dixon from Rhino, he worked pretty extensively with him to develop those chokes. So getting caught up here. Todd Archibald, David R, aka Journey Podcast. Is Rochester Brooks holding the spring deuce this year? And are you setting targets? So we'll see if David answers that one. I think he is. I think I'm blind monkey could have been here this week. Oh boy, Trevor, I can level with you on that one. I have those days. Chad says you beat Shanahan because of the music he's listening to. Just saying. Does he listen to some does he listen to some Braxton Oliver run over little kids music or what?
This freaking America's so big, hell no to 1 ounce.
Hell no to 1 ounce. Hammered down. I like the idea of mandating light loads like the Olympic bunker did, go to 24 grams. You know, funny story about that. The score averages actually went up when they mandated that. Tony says ounce and A 1250 or BMP 1280. Man, I don't know. That's a lot.
Which BMP? If it's the F2, I would take the F2, I think. It's a good show.
I hope, you know what, Trevor? I hope my buddy Art Lavely's on here because we shot him. I got to tell the story. We shot a Make or Break. And I tell you what, if I could figure out how to do this for a sporting round, y'all would be in trouble. We shot a Make or Break and we tied. And he's like, we're not walking out of here on a tie. Well, they had quit doing the daily, and I gave them, Art and I put our money together, and I gave them the $50, and they said, no, we're not doing the daily anymore. You can just practice. It's only 15 apiece. So he handed me back a 20. So I handed it to Art, and he goes, we're playing for the 20. I put it in his vest pocket, and I said, I'll be getting that back here in just a minute. That was all the fuel for the fire it took. I absolutely destroyed the 7 every time I called for it. And I beat him, and I beat him bad. He was so mad at me. Art, I hope you're here, buddy. I hope you'll join in on this conversation. That was so much fun. But when I can have fun like that, I shoot so much better. Over the years, you've interviewed some of the biggest names in the sport, covered pivotal moments, and probably even changed the way people think about sporting clays. Looking back, what's one conversation or episode that unexpectedly changed your perspective on something, whether about the sport, the industry, or even yourself? Oh, wow, we're getting deep in the weeds now. I'll let you take this one first, Sean, because I got to take a sip of whiskey, some of the Tonic Distillery here, and think about that.
Yeah, I'm kind of processing myself. Yeah, there's been a lot, man. I mean, there's been a lot of podcasts where I can selfishly say I've learned quite a bit just given the opportunity to talk to some of these big name shooters like Anthony Matarese and Chad and David and oh my gosh, Corey Cruz, Ben. I mean, think of all the guys we've had on, man. And every time we have one of those guys on, I always extract a little nugget of something, and it could be a mental perspective, it could be a gun movement perspective, or a gun movement item, or simply even reading the target, how to read the target correctly. And if you listen, I mean, again, you go back and listen to our old podcasts, and I know that everybody's mostly listening to the new stuff, but when you go back and listen to the guys that are at the top of this game, they drop little nuggets of wisdom that you can mine out of these podcasts, especially once you get a certain level of understanding in your game. that is just absolute dynamite. And you just kind of have to know what to look for, what to listen for. And I think there's a bunch of it out there. I can't really nail down like one specific thing. But I've just every once in a while I just pick up something like, wow, I didn't know that, or wow, I didn't realize that. And it's definitely helped my game. Jay?
Yeah, I'll reiterate that. But I'll also add to it that you have to be careful because, like, when we're interviewing the pro shooters, as far as shooting is concerned, when we're interviewing the pro shooters, like what David does and what Chad does and what Ben Husway does and what, Zach Keenbaum does, everybody's different. If you talk to Wendell, he's a fantastic shooter and a great coach. Obviously, look what he's produced. You're staying in front of everything all the time. If you talk to somebody like Brandon, you're coming from behind everything. So you hear, I kind of feel like if you all have ever watched Charlie Brown, the Peanuts, remember Pigpen when he's walking and there's all that dust flying around him? Sometimes when you run this podcast, you hear so much. You have to decipher what works best for you. And it's all been from episode 1 to, well, I know we're not interviewing anybody tonight, but from episode 1 to 199, I've learned something. And that's the biggest thing is I hope everybody else that's listening has learned something. That's what we're here for. We're here to ask the right questions and get that information from those people out there. I've learned a lot from the industry, and there's just so much. I mean, I could probably write a book on it. I really could. I mean, not that anybody would want to read it, but I could probably write a book on what I've learned. And as far as his next question here, which we'll run right into this, says, and if you could go back to episode 1 and give yourself one piece of advice before starting this journey, what would it be? Oh my God. Sean, take this for a second. I got to think about this. And by the way,
I know what I want to say, but I don't want to say it.
No, you do. Say it.
Well, you remember
find another co-host.
Well, yeah, that was the first one. That was the first one. Yeah. And never believe that David Radulovich is going to show up on time for anything when you book him for a podcast.
There you go. Episode 1. Schedule David Radulovich for 5 p.m. when you want him there at 7. Got it.
Or 9.
Or 9.
No, I would tell you this. And I'm not trying to sound negative at all. But as an outsider looking in, back in those days, I looked up to a lot of shooters in this game, a lot of the people that were on the covers and stuff. And I'm not trying to be negative or anything, but once you get into this game, and Jason and I have had the privilege of having access to talk to, the biggest names in the game simply because of what we do, you quickly realize that they're just people like everybody else. They have their problems, they have their issues, they have their hangups. And I think if you put people too high on a pedestal at times, you might get a little disappointed from here and there. And early on, nobody knew who the hell Jason and I were.
Right.
And rightfully so, right? I mean, just two idiots from Ohio that were trying to do a podcast. But as time's gone on, I think we've proven ourselves that we're serious. We're here for the long haul. And again, I think just being into the spot where we are and being able to talk to the people who we've been able to talk to, it kind of brought me back down to a reality of, hey, no matter how good this guy is or how good this gal is or how high a score they rack up, they're just human beings like everybody else. They put their pants on one leg at a time. And we all have to keep that in mind. They got where they got based on a lot of hard work and dedication. And I won't ever say anything bad about that. But again, they're just, at the end of the day, they're just normal people.
Yeah. And I agree with all that. I think the one piece of advice I would give myself if I had to go back to episode 1 is Sean and I have tried really hard to stay unbiased, and that was an agreement we had from day one. When you step over the threshold into the podcast room, we're not going to talk about politics, we're not going to talk about religion, and we cannot be biased to any company. it's been hard because the sponsors of this program are such good people and such great customer service, and we've developed personal relationships with them, and it's hard not to be biased, right? Especially if we're interviewing somebody that's Chad Roberts is an example. He's a blazer shooter. There's nothing wrong with that blazer. If somebody comes to me, I'm gonna point right here on my shirt. This thing's backwards. Point right here on my shirt because of my personal experience with them. But there's nothing wrong with the blazer. I mean, David Radovich shot a blazer. Derek Mines shot a blazer. I mean, Chad still shoots a blazer, and Corey Cruz still shoots a blazer. So there's nothing wrong with that gun. So that's been tough. As far as a piece of advice goes, man, there's so many things. I don't think there's one thing I can point to because when we started, we truly didn't know. Neither one of us have ever been behind a microphone before. So, I mean, we didn't know anything about this crap. So there's so much advice that I would give myself. Great question, though, David. Thanks for making us get deep in the weeds there. Sonic Rose, have you two ever seen some of the new VR clay shooting sims and trainers that have been coming out in the last few years? I've personally tried one myself, and it seems like an interesting concept. Real quick, Sean, I'll give my opinion and you give yours. I'll tell you this much. Technology is doing things. Look, I watched David's car park itself without anybody in it, okay? I was freaked out. All right, so technology is vastly improved over the last few years. I have not tried it, so I can't testify one way or another. I just question how accurate it is. How does it know how much lead you have? I mean, I know you're pointing at the screen, but I don't know. I'd love to try it, but I can't give any testimony one way or another. Sean?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I really haven't shot it firsthand. I've seen it, and I can see the advantage of it. I mean, particularly because of where I live. I mean, when you live in the north and you're dealing with weather like we're having now, where clubs are canceling tournaments because it's so cold and the conditions are so bad, if you actually had an indoor place to go shoot, even if it's not real, quote unquote, with live shells and clay birds, it's some kind of work, right? It's practice, right? I mean, if you can stand in your house and do the flashlight drill and follow the corners of your ceiling and stuff, like I'm doing here, just to get your gun moving in, it doesn't have to be as real as the real thing. But I think that if the choice is I'm going to go out and shoot in the freezing cold when it's 10 below zero, blowing snow, and the wind's 60 miles an hour, or I can go indoors and do that, for the people up north, I don't think it would be a tough sell.
Yeah, interesting. I would love to look into those more. Looks like Neil and Chad and Bilal and even David are getting into it about the shells. I'll tell you this much right now. So I shot Fiocchi back when they were the white rhinos were purple. That tells you how long ago I've been shooting those. And I shot them. Sean and I were buying them from Cardinal Center before we ever had a shell sponsor.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, Game Boy was very good to us. Appreciate them. But I'll tell you this much right now. I have shot literally truckloads of Fiocchis, and I've never had a squib load. Not ever, not once.
Not never, ever once?
Not once. Knock on wood. I've never had a squib load. And
yeah, I'm trying to think if I have. I don't know if I have. No, I think I've had a couple that were deformed when I didn't shoot. Like they got pressed or something or dropped.
I had that happen right around COVID when the whole shell thing went haywire. I had one that wouldn't go in the gun all the way. And it was, you looked at it and it was just like a little,
Yep.
Look, if I have a couple of those out of a truckload of shells, then I'm fine.
Oh yeah. I mean, any manufacturer is going to have problems. You're mass producing a cartridge, and it could be just the conditions in the warehouse that day when they're manufacturing. Could be humidity was too high. Could be the heat was too high. Could be it was too cold. Could be the operator wasn't paying attention and didn't set the specs correctly. It's a mass produced item. So there's going to be problems here and there. I guess the biggest thing is how does the company stand behind a problem, and do they make it right in the end? And I know Fiocchi 100% stands behind their product.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. David said, actually, Sean, I think that's an awesome answer. David, before you say that, I want you to know Sean thought the trigger sticks were an awesome idea. He also said, I've actually used the VR shooting things a good amount of experimentation, and without going into proprioceptive rabbit hole, I think it's actually a really valuable tool for working on perfecting your physical body movement mechanics. That's a good point. I think anytime you're mounting the gun, you're helping yourself. I've had firing pin issues, but never a squib load, but I can deal with those. I don't think I've ever had. What's that?
You shoot enough shells, you're going to have a problem once in a while. I mean, if you only shoot a couple boxes a year because you go hunting, you're not going to have the same experience as a competitive shooter that goes through thousands of shells a year. You're just not. It's a law of averages. Just like you get behind the wheel of a car and you drive every day to work back and forth versus a retired person that drives once or twice a week, you're way more susceptible to getting in an auto accident simply because you're doing it more often.
Yeah. Well, and he just said here, I should have said I had primer issues. Are you talking about with Fiocchi, Sarah, Clays and Wings? Let's see if he answers. Sorry, doing too many. I understand. Yeah, I mean, I personally, maybe it's just my luck, but I have not. He said, yes, sir. He's talking about Fiocchi's. Look, over the weekend between shooting and filming a bunch, I saw squib loads all the way around the property. I mean, from just, I can sit here and name manufacturers, but I won't do it. I saw a bunch of them. I shot with people that had problems. I was filming people that had problems. I saw it all the way around the course. So, but not with Fiocchi. That's all I will say that. I mean, judge how you will. But I mean, look, it's a free country. Everybody's entitled to their opinion. Look, if everybody thought the same, we'd all be driving Chevy trucks. We'd all be shooting one kind of gun, one kind of ammo. You have to do what works best for you.
That's right.
So, but Chad Roberts said the reason David can't shoot ounce and eighth in his gun is it would not be able to handle. More shots fired, Chad.
Shots fired.
Oh man, this is getting good. Scott Wilson said the VR messes up my real shooting. I could see that being a factor too. One problem I have with ammo is learning the hard way that Browning really hate. Yeah. I will tell you that back when I was shooting my Browning, there was certain shells. And I had Jim Eister explain this to me. Certain shells use a Cheddite primer. The Cheddite primers, they burn really, really hot. And the bottom firing pin, so the bottom barrel on a Browning, he pulled that thing out of my Browning and he showed it to me under a magnifying glass, and it looked like a mushroom. So it actually mushroomed the firing pin. And he's like, stop using shells with the Cheddite primers, which are easy to look at. If you grab one and you look at the bottom of it, it's almost like red in color. But yeah, that was an issue with my Browning back in the day. So I had to quit using shells with Cheddite primers.
I'm surprised we're not getting a lot more personal type questions, but maybe that's a good thing, Jason.
It might be. I might have to get lawyers. I might have to tell my wife to quit watching. So,
yeah, could be.
Either that or everybody's afraid to know the answer. So,
I don't think Neil or David's going to hold back. So, open up Pandora's box there.
Interesting fact, Chad Roberts. 9 of the top 12 at Jack shot ounce and an eighth. Man, I don't know if everybody's trying to duplicate what Brandon did when he came back to the scene or what, but I have noticed so many of the top level guys are going back to ounce and eighth. Yeah. I think Anthony summed it up best. For some reason or another, I get one piece of shot that breaks a target in half, and it gives me one target. It's worth it to shoot it around the course. I have a stock for my VR headset that's adjusted and weighted to simulate my actual shotgun. It does mitigate the issues a bit. Oh boy, here we go. I got to post this up here. Everything I've won in my whole career has been with 1 ounce shells shooting against people using ounce and an eighth. Oh boy. And he's typing. All right. So great show, gentlemen. I've enjoyed the interactions. I have to bug out and get back to work. Looking forward to the next one. Have a great night. Thanks. We appreciate you very much.
Thank you, sir.
If you want to finish listening to the rest of this later, we're going to have the audio from this up on Thursday. So you can catch up with what you missed out on. But thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Darren adds, okay, so how long have you been friends? Since 1993.
Define the word friends.
Yeah, we didn't ask how many times your wives wanted to kill me. He just said, how long have we been friends? Can I tell the story of how we met, Sean?
Sure.
So my ex-girlfriend and I were having a bonfire, and she had invited a bunch of people from school because she had just graduated school at that time. And we're having this bonfire, and Sean shows up, and he's talking to a buddy of mine, Max, and I'm standing behind Sean. And my uncle was racing at the time, mud racing. He had a 4x4 funny car. And he's like, man, have you guys seen that Ron Rambo's car? Man, that thing's just, bad A and all this other stuff, And I was standing behind Max going like this, like, shh, quiet, don't say anything. Max like, yeah, I know who he is, all this other stuff. And Sean said something else, and I said, no, that's not right. And he turned around and he goes, what do you mean? I said, I can tell you personally because I work on that car all the time. He's like, oh, you do? You know Ron? I'm like, unfortunately, he's my uncle. But yeah, we hit it off. And honest to God, we've been friends ever since. And that was in 93. So
yeah, one of my best buddies, Randy, lived like 4 doors down from where Ron used to live. And that car used to fire up all the time. And me and Randy walk down there and after work, go down there and, fiddle around with it and talk to Ron and stuff. So I had no idea this guy was related to Ron.
So yeah, it's been downhill.
And ever since then, it's been
downhill.
Wow.
All right, Justice says, I've had the opposite reaction to Cheddar primers. I've used them exclusively for almost 10 years and never had a misfire with them. My 725 and BT100 haven't had the pins replaced. That's interesting, Justice. That's interesting. I've never had a problem. What's that?
I was going to say, I wonder if there's anything to do with the age of a gun, like the different steel they may have used for different firing pins at different times. I wonder if that had something to do with it.
Well, if he was on here, I could ask him. But Eister told me that the pins that he was putting in, replacing my Browning pins with, were, I guess you could say, more modern. Or different type of metal or different type of something. Again, I'm way over my head here. I'm talking, but when he replaced my pins, he said these will last a lot longer, even if you do continue to use Cheddite. So maybe there's something to that. So
David King just joined us.
What's up, David? What advice would you guys give the average working guy that has a hard time traveling to all the big major shoots to work PTO? I make as much as I can and shoot more than most, but so many so close. Tell your boss to pound sand and no, don't do that.
Yeah, that works. That works great.
Don't do that. I did that. Look where I'm at. Yeah, that's a tough one because Sean and I, Sean's been a business. You've been self-employed since 15, Sean?
No, 08.
Has it been that long?
17 years with ProSign Studio, buddy.
Yeah, I mean, he's self-employed and he can't get away. So it's tough. It really is. I mean, when I was working full-time, I don't know if any of you have seen the show Landman. That was me. The only difference was I didn't have any deaths on my job site and I didn't have to deal with cartels. But other than that, that was me. I mean, that was exactly my life. And I had to take vacation to go shoot. So it's tough, David. I mean, as far as advice goes, I mean, Take your gun with you everywhere you can. If you get some time and you got a place you can go shoot, even if it's a trap and skeet club, go shoot some skeet or something to stay fresh and do your gun mounts. But
And in particular, when he's referring to the big majors, I think as Jason will tell you, I'm a busy guy, and unfortunately, you have to pick and choose what you're going to spend your money on. And best thing to do is do a little research, talk to some people that go to these shoots. If you're a working guy, there's only so many vacation days you get a year. Try to schedule things around holidays if you can, like Memorial Day, Thanksgiving, places where you get like a long weekend. And a lot of people do that. Find a shoot that coincides somewhere that's within a reasonable amount of distance to travel to. That'll save you some time from your PTO days, as well as give you an extra day there because of the holiday. The other thing is too, I would say also really do your research on the big shoots. There are, a handful of shoots that everybody will tell you are great shoots to go to. I mean, Nationals being one of them. If you can get a chance, maybe you can't do it every year, but definitely put it on your bucket list and make sure you make time to at least go one time. Yeah. Experience it one time. And it's definitely going to be worth it.
Yeah, he kind of followed that up here with this. He said big shoots too close together makes travel on the attendance hard. I 100% agree, David. And great.
Yeah, but that's the name of the game, though, man. I mean, because all over the country, the sport's becoming so popular.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the amount of money that you have to lay down. If you're traveling the circuit on Score Chaser, I think Chad said it best. I mean, you're going to put thousands of dollars in deposits.
Just in deposits, yeah.
Yeah, just in deposits to be able to get a good spot and a good rotation, a year in advance. So I'm not sure what the answer is. The big shoots are becoming more and more popular. Your Jack Links, your Gator Cups, your U.S. Opens, your regionals and stuff. Those are becoming such big events. Everybody wants to go to them because they are such cool events to attend and everybody's there. So again, if you can't go to them all, understandably so,
right?
But at least try to make the effort to go to one.
Yeah, again, David, great question, and it is hard. I mean, even for people that don't have a quote unquote regular job like John and I do, being business owners, it's still tough. I mean, it's very difficult, and you just have to plan accordingly, pick and choose which ones are important to you.
Yeah, I'm reading David's comments. I'm getting ahead of you. Sorry.
We're still on the ounce and eighth versus ounce. Oh boy, here we go. Guys who swing through birds and can't control gun movements, so they need a large margin. David, listen. Because of your gun, you have to be precise. Number one, you've got 58,000 fixed barrels at 39 inches long.
Yeah, you got the holes the size of a 410 shell.
Yeah, and number two, you have to be precise and hit as many as you can because you're probably going to get docked because you need a screwdriver to pry your game bore out of the chamber because he's taking too long in the box. Man, we got a lot going on here. 1 ounce. Oh my God, here we go again. This is getting. I didn't mean to start a fight in the chat about this.
This is again. The ounce versus ounce and eight's been one of those debates that's going on forever, man. So,
yeah, it will go on forever. David again. What up, guys? Keep up the great job. Thank you, David. Appreciate that, buddy.
Thanks, David.
Oh boy,
Chad would know, man. I tell you what, Chad's a traveler. Chad's got a system.
I just want to state a fact right here. Best editor and wife in the world just delivered this. Thank you very much. Gave me a press to comment. Love you, babe. Thank you so much.
Jules, he's way too lucky to have you.
Now you don't understand. I'm washing dishes for the next 2 weeks. I have cameras to choose. Oh man.
Oh God.
All right, let's see. Do you guys know anyone who is left eye dominant but is a very successful right-handed shooter, pro? Oh, that's the top of my head. I know Bill Elliott was right-handed and left eye dominant, and David Rodovich made him switch an eon ago. I'm sure David and Chad, they're in here. They've got a ton of students that probably have that issue. For myself, I've got a little bit of a dominance issue, not left eye dominant, right handed, but I've got a little bit of a dominance issue, and that eye rail has been an absolute savior for me. It really has. I mean, look, if you look at the date that I put that eye rail on my gun, and you go to anybody can do it. Go to the NSCA website, look up me, look up the date that I put that thing on there, and look at my scores substantially from then till now. They've increased. So look, whether somebody wants to argue whether or not that thing's a gimmick or not, or works or not, I'm just telling you right now, firsthand experience, that thing worked for me. So if you're a left eye dominant shooter and you're right handed and you want to try something other than switching, maybe the eye rail's for you. That's way over my pay grade to suggest that, but I mean, it really did work. Neil says Nationals now 2,300. My God, that shoot's getting big.
Yep, it sure is.
We just had a conversation on the Champions Network when we were live from Jack Link's Sunday, and we had Zach Keenbaum and Blaze Whitehead and Brandon Powell. We sat down and did interviews with them, and it was brought up about switching the Nationals to where you actually start the main on Wednesday and you shoot Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the shoot-offs would be Sunday. I think it eventually, because that shoot's getting so big, it's going to go to that. And it may even go, I don't know how you control it if it keeps growing the way it is. What are you going to do with 3,000 shooters there? I don't know. That's I think it's awesome. I mean, that's a significant sign that the sport's growing, right? Hopefully it's because these two idiots you guys are seeing on your screen are asking people to take someone new shooting. So you always ask people how to grow the sport. I think it has to start from within the sport. Do you think big shoots like regionals only giving back $2,600 total per class is a problem? I think payouts have been a problem. Just my opinion. We'll hear Sean's here in a second. I think payouts have always been a problem. I think if we're going to be a professional sport, we need to pay like professional sports. Problem is, where does that money come from? Right now, the whole entire industry is self-funded. It all comes, every single sponsorship dollar at any shoot comes from within the industry. There's no outside sponsors anymore. When Sean and I first started shooting, there was a Chevy Tahoe challenge. There was the Buick was sponsoring it. I mean, there was a lot of outside money. You just don't see that anymore. What's your thoughts, Sean?
I'm going to mirror the same thing. I mean, I think the demonization of firearms in general has put a damper on most sponsors, big like Fortune 500 companies coming forward because of the liability. Thank you, your attorneys and all that stuff for that. You look at the opportunities for some of these companies. Go to a shoot, and I'm just going to do a real quick list. Pickup trucks, side by sides, and UTVs,
campers, trailers,
and campers. People have those in spades. Why does the Ford, Chevy, Dodge people not understand, or the Polaris, John Deere, Honda, Kawasaki people, why don't they understand that they're missing a huge opportunity to advertise in front of all these people? Why? My personal opinion, I think they're scared. I think they're scared from the community backlash against firearms in general. And until we change the mindset of most of the people in this country that firearms are not a bad thing, you're going to get what you get. And that, like Jason said, we're self-funded. Jack Links is the only major corporation in recent years that has stepped up and put real money in the game. They're the only ones. The other, like the industry people, the vendors, Beretta, Kolar, Fiocchi, Winchester, all those guys, look, they've put money into it for years because they have to.
Right.
But there's only so much to go around. and the sport, doesn't draw the same amount of an audience as PGA golf or NFL football or baseball or basketball or whatever.
Right.
So it's a dollars and cents thing.
Yeah. I just so you guys know, I reached out to a lot of the energy drink companies because trust me, they've got more money to spare than you think they do. I think the original story I heard was the average Red Bull costs like, whether it's sugar free or regular or whatever, I think it costs like 23 cents to produce. That's the can, printed, filled, sealed, shipped. You can't find one for under $2.30 at a grocery store. So anyway, I reached out to a bunch of energy drink companies, and I reached out. One of them was Bang. How cool, right? Bang Energy. They wrote me a letter back and said, "We're sorry, but our political views do not match that of your podcast." They're anti-gun. There's a lot of that woke crap going around too, so that's unfortunate. But interesting. Boxhog said Brandon Powell's left eye dominant. I did not know that. That'd be, you know what, Sean? We're going to be doing something with Brandon here soon. That'd be a good thing to ask him about, talk to him about. I did not know that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for bringing that up. We're definitely gonna talk to him about that on a podcast. That'd be awesome. Adam Lutz. Adam is from Game Unlimited. Adam, thank you for joining us. Looking forward to seeing you guys at Game Unlimited this summer and next. Big things happening to GU. I can't wait to see it. Pete Malloy, Sean Alley, I'm telling you right now, I know how you are with travel this year. I know your situation, but if you can make it to Game Unlimited, that place is amazing. Pete Malloy.
I've heard nothing but great things. Listen,
Pete Malloy and his staff are absolutely freaking amazing. What they did for the World VTAS this past year, I'm telling you, you got to go. That's not a bucket list. That's a priority list. You have to go to that shoot. That is a very good shoot. So. Sonic Rose, how hard would it be to secretly swap Chad and David's ammo when they're not looking? That's going to be tough because they're totally different colors. See if you can shoot better than normal. Got to find some way to settle this. I totally agree with you, Sonic, and I think I have your answer. No, because they'll both cheat. What I mean by that is if they knew we swapped, they would both intentionally shoot worse. You know what? We need to do that.
We'll have to take it behind our backs, Jason. We'll load the guns, close it, and hand it to them. That's the only way to be fair.
Or we could just spray paint all the shells.
Could do that.
We could do that. We could just spray paint. No, because then it's
still, they'd be able to see the brass.
The brass, yeah. Interesting. We need to do this.
Scott Robertson left eye dominant.
I did not know that about Scotty either. Nationals going to get to the point where we got to reserve our spots over a year in advance. No doubt in my mind.
We're already there.
No doubt in my mind. I hope Neil was not talking about that year in advance. Let me see here. I'm going to 3 shoots in Ohio Nationals. Hope to see you there. Heck yeah, Tony. Absolutely. Let's
a lot of big shoots in Ohio this year. You've got of course, the state shoot. You've got the Northeast Regional, and then Dan's place, you've got the Grand Prix for FETASC. Big shoots. Big
things happening for Ohio this year. I get to go shoot it when the weather's nice and then go back home when you all have to shovel snow.
Yeah, that's why we call you a fair weather friend. That's what you are.
But no, Tony, we look forward to seeing you, bud. Let's hang out. Let's have a cocktail. Let's have a tonic distillery one night.
Absolutely.
David said, money needs to come from gun manufacturers, auto manufacturers, and side-by-side manufacturers. I disagree with the first two and agree with the third one. I'll tell you why I disagree with the first two. Sean, you can give your opinion on this. I know by personally dealing with a gun manufacturer and an ammo manufacturer that sponsor these events and that sponsor shooters, and I know how much money they have, and I know how much money they're putting out. And it's to the point where they're at their limit. I mean, very much so. You can't go to a regional, you can't go to the nationals without seeing Fiocchi signs everywhere. They cost a lot of money to have those, to sponsor those events. They have a slew of Fiocchi shooters that they sponsor and support, and they support us two idiots. So I know the money that they put out, and I really don't. It needs to come from outside the industry. We need to get outside money. We really do. I mean, I don't know what that answer is. My thing is Chick-fil-A. They're a very conservative company. Why aren't they sponsoring this? I don't give a crap if it's Mike Lindell and My Pillow. That guy's as conservative as can be, all about guns. Why can't we get him sponsoring? I don't care if it's Stay Free, Maxi Fresh, whatever the hell it is. Somebody is conservative. There's conservative companies out there that we should be going after to try and get them to support this sport. I mean, Timex, Rolex, whatever. Jason, look at Uncle Lenny's answer. He's right. Uncle Lenny, what did he say? Did I miss something? I don't see Uncle Lenny's answer.
Fox Hog is Uncle Lenny, right? Brandon Powell, left eye dominant. I don't know. Unless it was way back, we'll have to dig way back. We gotta keep moving on though.
Yeah. All right. David DeBarol, they need to stand up. Yeah, I agree, and they're helping. Wally Sykes won 2 cars. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's what we need.
Yep, we need Chevy, Ford, and Dodge to step up and put some pickup trucks on the line.
Yeah, I agree with what Chad's saying here. Like, Sean couldn't get in stuff because he waited too long to register for nationals this past year, and there was stuff he couldn't get into. My PTAS time, I normally shoot it on Wednesday, and they were like, yeah, right. No, talking about shooting Wednesday. Okay. All right. Chad said, disagree, Sean. Nobody is going to these companies to get sponsors. I haven't seen it. Neil has. Anybody from the NSCA sent a marketing person to these companies to solicit sponsorship? Chad, yes, talked about it at the EC, putting somebody on it. Great. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Hopefully we can make that happen. I understand what you're saying about the outside money, but the regionals still have $220,000 in main event entries, but only give back $20,000 in the main event, not counting all the edge. Go back and listen to the episode we did on Sean, what was that? We had Brian Palmer and
Something.
The cost of running shoots or something like that.
Yeah, cost of running shoots. Yeah.
Yeah, we had Brian Palmer and Michael Boyer on. These are 2 people that ran gun clubs and run shoots, and
it's pretty enlightening to hear what kind of costs are involved with not only the staff they have to hire for a big event. I mean, you figure that a gun club runs on a set amount of employees. When they do something as big as like a regional or a state shoot or whatever, they're probably tripling, if not more, the amount of people that they put on the payroll for that event. Not to mention extra bathrooms, extra, golf carts, extra this, extra that. They got to bring all that in. And yes, people do pay for golf carts and stuff, but there's expense to a lot of that stuff. Yeah. I mean, and again, and clubs have to make money, guys. They're a business just like anybody else.
Right.
So, $220,000 sounds like a lot of money, but if you have 100 people that week on the payroll for a regional, stop and just do some quick math. A lot of that goes away very quickly.
Here's something to consider. Just in trappers, nothing else. No food, no bathrooms, no power, no gravel, no targets, no traps,
scissor lifts, boom lifts.
Just in trappers. You have, take, for example, a regional has a 2-day main event, right? So you have 2 main event courses, 15 stations each. That's 30 trappers, right? You have at least 1, sometimes 2 prelims. You have a super sporting, FETASC. You have all the sub-gauge events, all of the FETASC events and FETASC sub-gauge, right? All this stuff, right? Figure all those trappers on what they cost per day times 6 days. A regional is 5 or 6 days. Just in trappers. Plus you have to feed them. That's just in trappers. That doesn't include everything else. And then now you start adding in trophies and targets and traps and, extra batteries. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, the cost to run a shoot, I understand they make money. That's why they're doing it. But that club makes that money to sustain everything else they do all year long. So I agree with you, Clay Life. Sorry, I don't know what your name is. I agree with what you're saying. But at the same time, it's hard for the clubs to put up that giant prize money. The reason why Jack Links does it is because they are owned by an outside company, which is Jack Links Beef Jerky.
Right.
So that's where a vast majority of that giant purse comes from. Oh my God, here we go. Here's how
Next.
David,
Sorry,
if you made all the right decisions in life, you wouldn't be as broke as I am right now. You can't argue that fact. Big Shoot is only running about 20 to 30% profit. I hate the argument that gun clubs should eat profit and just throw NSCA shoots.
I agree.
mean, that kind of, Trevor, that's a good point, but that kind of falls into play with what I was just talking about. I mean, it's hard. I mean, a lot of these gun clubs are struggling. And when they land a regional or an open or something like that, it's a big boost to them to be able to make that little extra bit of money that they don't make on normal size shoots. But it's a giant risk too. I mean, what if it rains?
Right. Big storm comes in, and all week long it's tornadoes and hail and everything else. I mean, you can go with people that are, signed up for 500, 600, 700 shooters down to 200 or 300 shooters, and then where'd your money go?
Here's something for you. Get this, Sean. I didn't have a chance to tell you this. So at Jack Links this past weekend, I was shooting the White Flyer Winchester prelim, and this kid, I was shooting a morning rotation. This kid was completely covered in sweat, and I'm like, "Dude, are you okay?" He's like, "I've been running back and forth." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He said the trappers. There was 4 trappers that didn't show up for this event, and me and 2 other guys have been running back and forth. He goes, "I'm actually trapping both stations." I said, "Are you kidding me?" He goes, "No." He goes, I hope you don't take any offense to this, but I don't want to talk about it much longer because as soon as your squad's done, I got to run back and trap for those guys down there waiting. They had 11 trappers that didn't show up that day, dude. 11. Can you imagine running a major event and 11 trappers don't show up?
Good help's hard to find.
Well, it's a thankless job to begin with. They don't make a lot of money to begin with.
Nope.
So, I mean, it's tough. Absolutely. Chad said, "Neil, you are rad." I agree. Neil is a rad dude. So, well, guys, where's your questions at? Come on now. There's 65 of you watching right now. Where's all the questions? If not, we're going to get going soon. So,
yeah, it's 10 after 10 here, my time, brother.
Chad's just getting off work.
Well, he's that California guy.
Yeah, he's on weirdo time.
Weirdo time.
Okay, here we go. Had to pull your own, score your own at Nationals one year because trappers didn't show up. There you go.
How does that work?
For a national championship, that's tough, dude. Neil said that was on small gauge. Well, regardless of what it was on, it's still a problem, right? I mean, it happens.
Yeah, it's still nationals.
Yeah. On sub gauge, sorry. Come on, Neil. You had all kinds of questions you were texting me a little bit ago. Certainly you've got something that's PG.
Maybe he doesn't.
Sean, should I just go ahead and ask the question that he sent?
I don't care. It's your funeral.
Are you sure? You really want me to ask this?
It's 10:10. I think all the kids are in bed at this point.
All right. Okay. You said it. Okay, everybody hold on to their pantyhose here. Neil asks, have you or Sean ever joined the Mile High Club?
I'll let you go first, Jay.
I'm laughing because I'm trying to think of a bathroom on an airplane that Sean can fit in.
That was exactly what I was going to say. Stick to your answer, not mine.
Oh God.
I was
that's
going to answer this.
hilarious.
It's hard enough for me just to go in there and take a pee.
Oh my God. Neil said it's gone 10. We can go 18 plus. Oh my God. All right. Sonic Rose, what's the strangest or most mind-blowing target you've ever seen? I came across a Batu that skipped on a lake like a stone recently that kind of blew my mind. Sean, you go first.
The dead squirrel at Cardinal. That was a bitch of a target.
Yeah, so what Sean's talking about, they took a bungee cord and where the spring goes on the trap, they replaced it with a bungee cord. And they had one target that went off the tower pretty quick going out as a midi, and then the second target was it just kind of fell off the arm, if you will, like kind of fell off the plate. And this thing would flip and tumble and roll and fall to the ground. And I watched masterclass shooter after masterclass shooter miss this target. It just fell out of like a 30-foot tower. And I was a wise butt and shot it as soon as it cleared the tower. It's like pull, bang, shot it right off the tower. But yeah, that target stumped a lot of people. Dan Bailey did the thing with the trampoline. He also did one that was really cool where he threw a Batu at the water, but what it would do is it would hit and then turn broadside and come up, like skip like a rock and come up. The problem was is you had to shoot it while it was at its peak, because if not, when that thing hit the water, it was gone. I mean, you had like a very short window to shoot it. That one was really cool. I don't know. I saw a target somewhere, Shauna Alley. It was at what's that club just south of Hillendale that we shoot all the time, or used to shoot all the time?
Cuyahoga?
South Cuyahoga. They had a springing teal, and I scoped it with a rangefinder, and it was 78 yards to the trap, and it was going away. And that was probably the farthest target. I mean, that thing had to have been, I think where you hit it, it was over 90 yards. That one was insane.
I'll add one more to that. A couple years ago, Jack Links on Doug Vine's course, if you remember, they had the twin true pair rabbits, but the one rabbit came out slow and they had the spring wound up on the second one. So when you called pull, both rabbits threw, but as the first one came off, your eye went to that, but then the second rabbit passed behind it faster. Really screwed up your vision, like as far as getting a read on it. Remember that?
They had that exact same thing this year, but everybody was clubhousing it because the way that it rolled. As soon as you got on the first one, the second one would catch up to it, and everybody was clubhousing it. But it was not like, I knew what you're talking about. It was on the blue course, and it was right there where you made the bend.
Yep. And the timing of it was perfect. Doug did a great job of it, because by the time you got a bead on the first bird, the faster bird blew by it, which you're like, oh God, I got to get on that because I'm gonna lose it,
Right.
Which really screwed up your timing. It was done very well.
Yes. David, well, don't feel sorry for Jack Links when they told me Sunday night. That's a good point. Gravity rabbits at the 98 open in Big Sky. Oh my God, those freaking gravity rabbits. Those things. Now, look, I wasn't there at Big Sky in 98. I didn't shoot that. But Sean knows what I'm talking about, and so does David Radulovich, the gravity rabbits. For those of you that don't know, they used to take, I mean, everybody built them different, but around Ohio, they would take two 2x6s and stand them up this way. Then they had a 2x6 underneath it they were both nailed to. And they just propped it up at an angle, and the trapper would just literally let go of the rabbit, and it would roll down the ramp and take off rolling. And this thing was not fast, and it was usually at somewhat of a quartering angle. And I've seen so many people miss those things, and you're sitting there and you go pull, and you hear it rolling down there, and you can hear it rolling down. And I swear to God, that sound built anxiety. It's like, oh boy, here it comes. And so many people miss those things. But those gravity rabbits, man, I kind of miss some of just the nostalgia of that stuff. Was so much fun.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Woolley says, do you feel the basic costs of shooting are deterring people from the sport. 100 clays and ammo on average is about $80 to $85 here in PA, and that is for low grade ammo. Yeah, it's getting expensive. I don't doubt that, Doc, and that's a good point. Comparatively to other sports, if you think this one's expensive, go racing. Uh, this is cheap.
Well, even go for a round of golf. I mean, hell, a combo meal at McDonald's costs $12 these days.
Yeah, everything's getting expensive, but I don't know. It's what it's worth to you. I is what I tell people.
Yep.
It's an incredibly safe sport if it's done correctly. It's the safest sport in the world. The whole family can do it and enjoy it. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter your gender. It doesn't matter your physical condition. If you can mount that shotgun and you can load it and mount it safely, you can enjoy this game. And I know it's expensive. It's a bummer because the cost of all doubled from what they were as little as 4 years ago. But yeah, I absolutely agree. It's a bummer that it's so expensive. So, oh God, I got a text here. I don't know if we'll try to answer that. Haley, I love you, but oh my goodness, I don't know if I'm going to ask that one. Yeah, Doc, I agree. Sean, anything you want to add to that?
I'm just going to say, yeah, everything's expensive. But I think that, bass fishing is expensive. Hunting is expensive. You just have to work within your budget. So, Jason and I have had podcasts in the past that we talked about setting up a budget for the year. Whether you got $1,000 to use for the year, $10,000 to use for the year, or $50,000 to use for the year, we all have different budgets, and you just have to play within your budgets and know what you can afford, what you can't afford.
Yeah,
You can only do so much.
And I think a lot of that can be combined with David King's question. You just got to pick and choose. If
Right.
your budget and your time off work only dictates you can shoot so much, man, stay locally. You support your local clubs. The local smaller clubs need help. They really do. So, see, Trevor Hanshan said, y'all never saw the flying attack squirrel that David and I came up with in
We're going to have to ask David about that off air.
I don't want to know. It's probably got bottle rockets strapped to a batu or something.
Trevor, I'll call you. You got to tell me.
Yeah. Adam Lutz, what did you think of the targets at Jack Links? I thought it was a perfect balance for all classes and difficulty. I'm glad you brought that up. I want to talk about that. Sean Alley, we have been visiting Jack Links since its inception.
Mm-hmm.
And from the very beginning, there was a blue course. We had the Doug Vine bombs, as I called them. And then you got Joe Scald on the red course.
Red course, right.
I missed that. Don't get me wrong. Very cool this year. 3 different courses. Targets were fair. They really were for a lot of people. If you listen to the guys at the top of the game, they want tougher targets. But for me personally, this is just my personal opinion. When I go to a big money blast, especially with that kind of money on the line, I want to shoot some good targets. I want to shoot some big targets. Don't know if I'll hit them. Don't know if I'll be successful. Don't know if I'll win. But I feel like you should have that mindset of I'm going to this big tournament. I expect hard targets, more difficult targets. Fine if they want to give you a feel-good prelim. It's fine if they want to back it off a little bit in one of the other events. But on the main event, I think you should be challenged. And I think the guys at the top should not be shooting perfect scores. I think they should be just a little bit tougher. Listen, not everybody likes Big Macs and not everybody likes the Whoppers, right? It's just a personal flavor type question. I can't stand grape juice, but other people love it. But Sean, what's your take on that?
As we've said so many times and other people have said too, it's hard to make everybody happy. So nobody will ever be able to. You have situations, I guess for me, it depends on the shoot. We've kind of used Rick Hemingway's U.S. Open a few years back as a prime example of a very tough tournament. And we kind of griped and grumbled a little bit. But looking back, I think Rick was right with what he did. No, I didn't like it. But it's the U.S. Open, right? So, if it's the U.S. Open and you think you're going to go there, if you're going to go as a D class shooter or a C class shooter, you need to go with the understanding that you're going to get your butt handed to you. You're just going to.
Yeah.
But you're never going to see targets like that ever shooting at a local club.
You know what, Sean? I agree. But the one thing I'll say about that, if you were going to a U.S. Open or, for example, the Jack Links this weekend where there's big money on the line, and you knew going in that those are going to be tough targets, like if you had that perception going in, these are going to be tough targets, you're probably going to learn something. You're probably going to get a little better. You're probably, I mean,
agree.
even if it's hard, even if it's a target you never see at your local club, I don't think it matters. I think it needs to be, look, I mean, in any other sport, when you go, or well, certain other sports, when you go to certain places, you expect the challenge is going to be there. It's going to be harder. It's going to be tougher. So I don't know. In that retrospect, I kind of agree with Brandon Powell that when you go to a big shoot, it ought to be tough targets. But you know, I mean, to each their own. Yeah, great question, Adam. I think the targets were fair. It was spread out across 3 courses. Now, I will say some of the intimacy was kind of gone because it was 5.5 miles from the Super Sporting to the clubhouse.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I think the Jack Links main and the Bass Pro main were even farther. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, I fill my buggy up twice a year, and I filled it up the day before I pulled into Jack Links, and I'm down to less than half of a tank. So, yeah. Here we go with the attack squirrel. Chad Roberts, golf carts are out of control. Oh my God, I agree. Come on, people. Some of the best people in the whole world shoot this game. Some of the smartest people in the whole world shoot this game. You put them in a golf cart and they become Helen Keller.
I think he's talking about pricing, though, isn't he?
Oh, I don't know. Chad, what are you talking about there? Are you talking about the way people drive or the price of them?
I'm thinking he's talking about the price of them. And they are very high, but you guys got to understand, the one company that comes to mind is Deaver. I think their main outlet is in Kentucky, so they're shipping these things all over the country. So it's expensive to drop off 100, 200 golf carts for a big event.
Yeah. Scott Wilson said, why do you think some gun clubs are still using iClays and have not changed to Score Chaser? Interesting question. And off the hip, I'm going to say, without talking to the people that run the club, I would say they're probably worried about the people that have been attending that club forever switching to something new and it being confusing and all that kind of thing. That maybe that's got something to do with it. I don't know. That's a good question.
Yeah.
John, anything different on that?
No, same thing. I mean, again, I think it's if you got a club that's been established for a long time and maybe, and again, I'm not picking here, but if most of their members are of the older persuasion, they may be more inclined to use what they've always known. If it ain't broke, don't fix it type mentality. But I think Score Chaser has pretty much proven itself to be a superior product, in my opinion. So just my 2 cents.
Clay Life said, you think Rad Chad will start wearing Magdalene shirts and use a shooting shelf house next? I don't think we'll see that happen, but who knows here. Let me get caught up here. I've seen drag racing rabbits before, and I may or may not placed my first shot in between the 2 of them. Someone guilty.
Yeah.
Trevor says, yeah, the one this year was about 15 yards closer than the one Sean was talking about. Yes, it was. I ran the one Sean was talking about. Somehow I missed one on that pair this year. Yeah, Trevor, that's something else I beat you at. Moving on.
Jesus.
I'm sorry. Listen, everybody, I know Trevor personally, and I'm just messing with him. I missed paying like $20 for a brick of 100 shells at Walmart. God, don't we all?
Don't we all?
Clay Life, what do you think about 110 masterclass shooters at Jack Links that wouldn't have won D class?
Don't get us started.
I think, and Neil is, I hope he's still on here. I think that's a broken part of our system.
Yep.
I really do. And I think the masterclass debacle is the biggest problem we have right now. in our sport. But credit to the EC, guys like Neil and everybody that's on the EC that's working on it to fix this problem. I know we're voicing our opinions, trying to help, not complaining, but voicing our opinions of what might work. And guys, understand that the NSCA, like, love, or hate them, is not going to make a change without knowing that it's the right change that's not going to hurt somebody. So
I personally feel this. You can self-declare any class in the NSCA except master class. I personally feel you should not be able to refuse downclassing in master class. If you can't self-declare to master class, you shouldn't be able to refuse to be downclassed from master class. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah. I think he's talking about the Nitro Rabbit thing or Batu thing or whatever. David Rules. Good night, guys. Here's the next 200. David, thank you, buddy.
Thanks, David.
Appreciate it. Clay Life, I got a leather elephant pouch this weekend from Al at Jack Links. I won't wear Magdalene shirts because I work for Shimano. I would. Okay. All right. We're talking about wardrobes now. Love it.
G. Loomis, yep. Fishing rods, yep.
Trevor said, with money on the line, true skill should shine, not to be a test of concentration. I skipped last year, but I thought this year was much softer than the first 2 years I attended Jack Links. Yes, I'll agree with that. I had a good friend of mine make a comment. It seemed like there was a lot of big targets in the sky moving slow. And to me, that was the target setter testing how well you can move the gun. Honestly, I think that's what it was. But for the majority, for the most part, I think they were substantially softer. Yeah, me too, Adam. I miss the days of cheap ammo too, brother.
Me 3.
Anthony throws a Batu style target on one of his ponds before fun target. Yes, Chad, I agree 100%. It is. Signing off, you guys should be proud of what you do for the sport. Keep it going. Thanks, Neil. We appreciate
you, Neil.
And thank you for your support of this program. Long range.
Absolutely.
Best trap controls on the market, period.
Trevor, I love you, brother. You and I think alike.
Here's how you fix masterclass. Mandatory downclassing. I agree, but I think it should be harder to get to masterclass to begin with. Clay Life said, thanks, guys. You're welcome, buddy. Thank you for being part of the show. Steve Everett, guys, quickly explain what is the problem with what many masterclass shooters, only a handful capable of winning. Again, it goes back to what we're talking about. It's a problem in our sport. It's the biggest problem in our sport, more so than money, I think. I think the money would come if the classes were figured out and only the cream would rise to the top, as they say. Masterclass should be for the cream.
Yeah, and Steve, honestly, we've had this conversation more times than we can count. And in my opinion, masterclass should be the smallest class of all, not the largest.
So I'm going to throw this out there, and we're going to leave this on a parting note because Sean and I need to get going. We've been on this for 2 hours.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I know. What do you guys think about this? You can write us. You can write the NSCA. Would be even better if you agree with it or if you think it's a good idea. First of all, what about if a guy is in masterclass, but he has not earned enough win points, or if he does not have a good enough CCFR on a state level, when he goes to a regional, he is masterclass competing in AA. So in other words, he would be AA-master, right? So he would still hold his master class in a local area. And I'll explain that. Michael Hampton said, if you take a guy, John Smith from North Dakota, and he's a masterclass shooter at his local club, they don't want him in anything but masterclass because he wins all the time. But he shows up at nationals or a regional, and he's places 400th place, right, in masters. So because of CCFR, or maybe it's because his win points or whatever, he has to shoot so well in order to shoot in masterclass at regionals. Now you go to a U.S. Open or a Nationals, it's based on your scoring from a regional where you're going to shoot in a national championship. So if you haven't shot well enough in Masters class at a regional or US Open, now you're in double A again with that designation, double A dash Masters. And that could work for all the classes on down through the list. Look, I'm in double A, and I'm telling you right now, I saw scores in freaking C class that were as high as the top 10 in double A. That should not be happening. It should not. And so, but if you had that averages, right? Like it's a game of averages. And if you had, based on their scores where they shoot locally, when they go to a regional, this is going to be their class designation. If they go to a national, it's based off of how they performed in a regional. So I think that would be a stepping stone. I definitely believe in the win points. And I think Chad Roberts had one of the greatest ideas ever. Chad Roberts, so only check this out. Chad Roberts had the idea. Whatever class you're in January 1 is whatever class you can shoot all the punches you want. You will be in that class until December 31st. And then we're going to take a look at your CCFR. We're going to take a look at your win points. And we're going to take a look at your punches to see if you're moving up or not. I think that's the greatest idea ever. I think it's a great
way for the whole year. Everybody that starts in whatever class ends in whatever class. I like that idea.
Yep, and because think about this. Look at the bench raising that goes on. And what I mean by that, Lenny Poole, I think his designation on here was Boss Hog. He's in double A with me. Michael Gardner. I can go down through the list of the great double A shooters that I compete with. It's so fun to, you know what, dude, I'm going to kick your butt this weekend. And, have that friendly little rivalry thing going on. And we're chasing points and we're the hell with the punches. We're chasing points and we're chasing wins and all that kind of stuff. Once we get into Masters class, do you think Jason Rambo can compete with the freaking Anthonys and the Gebbins and the Zach?
I've been saying it for years, Jason. I've been saying it for years.
It's never going to happen. And you know what I'm talking about, Sean. You've been there.
Yeah.
But let's
double A Masters.
Yeah,
that's my story of my life.
And now I've got to shoot another 1,000 targets in Masters class and beg the NSCA for a down class review so I can get back to where I should be, and it sucks. And I really don't want to play that game. So hopefully we can, all of us as a whole can voice our opinions and throw these ideas out there and see if something will stick. Sooner or later, if you keep throwing a bag of crap against a wall, something's going to stick. So we need to figure it out. But great question, Steve. Let's see here. Maybe wins at Jack Links and wins at small local shouldn't be the same. Bingo. Falls right back into what I was just saying. Trevor just said, agreed, Jason. It should be a 40 to 50 punches to get into Master. I shot terrible in every event at Jack Links, and I'm halfway back to Masters with only a $492 payout. Here's one for you, Trevor. I didn't win one single event. I didn't win one single dollar except for $42 in the Lewis class. Okay? I punched into Masters this weekend. That should have never happened. Can we call it great value masterclass? Chad Roberts, agreed, Trevor. 20 or even 25, which has been proposed, is too little. 30 to 40. Keep them in double A as long as possible. Love watching the battle in the household. Everyone was in double A. Yeah, perfect example. So I stayed in the VRBO with Chad and a few other guys, and Chad was master and one other guy was master. The rest of us were in double A, and we were teasing each other and that friendly rivalry going on. It was so much fun, and now it sucks. I'm up with Brandon's, and I gotta get when I go to the Florida Challenge this weekend. I got to compete with everybody there that's in Masters, and those people that are there are no joke. And it sucks. I'm basically just donation class, as they called it.
Come on, Jason, think positive.
Oh, I'm going to go and let it eat. The problem is it ain't going to be enough eating to get up anywhere near the top 10. So Steve S said 99. Steve S99 says compulsory class purses would help the classification system and add legitimacy. $100 national, $75 US Open, $50 regional low hanging fruit. I don't know if I understand that. Do you understand what he's saying there, Sean?
$100 national. Compulsory class purses would help the classification system. So he's saying like paying more for the bigger shoots. I get that, but I'm not sure how that helps the class system. But maybe I'm misunderstanding it.
Yeah. Chad said, Ron, 2 CCFRs would fix this, one local and one nationally. That goes back into what I was saying about how you compete based on the event.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that hard to come up with a weighted system to say, okay, your local shoot, if you win first place in your class, is worth this. But if you win it at the U.S. Open, it's worth 10 times that. That would be, to me, that's common sense. I'm not sure how you really do it numerically, but should be able to come up with something.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, we're going to run. We have been on here for over 2 hours. That is amazing. And thank you, everyone, for hanging out. But, Sean Alley, what's our message to everybody every week?
Take somebody new shooting, guys. Get them out there. Put a gun in their hand. Introduce them to this sport. If they haven't seen it before, watch them break their first clay, and then hopefully you'll build an addiction just like we have, and you'll bring somebody new into the fold.
Yeah, for sure. We've got a long list of sponsors, guys, and listen, I know I don't want to sound like a broken record, and I'm not trying to just read off of a list of people, but there's a reason why there are sponsors, because we believe in them as much as they believe in us. And Kolar Arms, we're fueled by Fiocchi. You guys know we love Fiocchi. Atlas Traps, Rhino Chokes, RE Ranger, Tonic Distillery, Score Chaser, Long Range. We love us some Neil Chadwick. We just can't thank these people enough. I mean, they stand behind us. They support what we do. And guys, we would not be at episode 200 without these people. So
amen to that.
Check them out if you would, please. There's great value in it. We still have some questions coming in. Holy cow. This is awesome. I love seeing this. I guess we can really quick run through this, Sean, before we leave. Trevor said, I had 0 punches coming into the weekend. I only shot 5 events. Punched in 4 out of 5 with no real return. I completely agree, Shannon. That goes back to what I was just saying. If people put more of their money into the class purses, that would help get people into the right class. If people would have to put up more of their money into the class purse, I don't know. I don't know if that would be.
Everybody shoots for different reasons. Is my only argument about that. Some people just shoot for the fun. Some people do shoot to compete.
Yeah.
So there's a wide variety of people and why they shoot these tournaments.
Yeah. Adam Lutz kind of backed me up here. Why would someone not want to get downclassed at a larger shoot when there's big money online? Completely agree, Adam. But here's the thing. One quick tidbit about my idea. There's a lot of pride and a lot of ego about the whole masterclass thing, and some people don't want to be downclassed. But if you gave it to them as an option, hey, look, if you want to shoot masterclass, go right ahead. I think that would be great. So Justice said, Sean, Jason, congrats on 200. Sean, let's squat up sometime soon. Justice, I'm jealous because you're a great dude, and it was a lot of fun shooting with you. But Sean sounds like he wants to squat up with you real quick. So.
Absolutely, Justice. We'll make it happen.
Yeah. Captain said, masterclass should be a pro class that costs more to enter, like $1,000 per event, but have a higher payout. So,
and that's a David Radulovich argument there too.
Yeah, he's made that argument quite a few times. Folded Wing Apparel saying congrats on 200. Appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm not going to get into. I'm not going to get into Haley's question, even though I really want to. But she was talking about a paper, rock, scissors game, but we'll leave that for another episode. I don't think we need to get into that. I think that's been covered. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining us for episode 200. Hope everybody loved it. Hope everybody got something out of it and had fun in the meantime. So, Sean Alley, until next week, my friend.
Can't wait to see all of you back here on the Dead Pair Podcast. Good night, everybody.
We'll see you next time on the Dead Pair Podcast.
The Dead Pair Podcast is brought to you by Kolar Arms, the mark of performance, and is fueled by Fiocchi USA. The Dead Pair theme song was written, arranged, and produced by Toby Tomplay. Special thanks to the following sponsors: Atlas Traps, Ranger Performance Eyewear, Rhino Chokes, Long Range LLC, Taconic Distillery, Score Chaser, and Clay Range Design Works.